Welcome to NorthStar Church of the Arts. We are here to celebrate the reopening of NorthStar Church of the Arts with the Way Out of No Way Humanities series, sponsored by the North Carolina Humanities Council. Thank you so much for your support and your participation. Described as a willingness to press on through difficult circumstances, even when the outlook is decidedly bleak, this 8-month celebration of resilience, creativity, advocacy, and determination is the African American tradition of waymaking. Evidence of waymaking can be observed in both historic and modern narratives of struggle and triumph. Black American victory stories are more often than not woven with threads of resistance thinking and creative workarounds. Embedded history of enslavement, bigotry, and racism, as well as institutionalized forms of marginalization, have encouraged waymaking strategies as a means of survival. The name NorthStar comes from the quest for freedom by runaway enslaved African Little Dipper. That bright star pointed north, out of the darkness of racism into the light, a promise of freedom. If you have enjoyed programming and you like what you see and hear tonight, please consider becoming a sustainer. The way to do that is go to the website, NorthStarDurham.com. And now, about the woman who makes the color red beautiful, soft, and powerful. Appointed in 2018, Jaki Shelton Green is the first African American and third woman to become appointed North Carolina Poet Laureate by Governor Roy Cooper. Reappointed in 2021, she has held several prestigious honors, including 2019 Academy of American Poet Laureate Fellow, 2014 North Carolina Literary Hall of Fame inductee, 2009 North Carolina Piedmont Laureate Fellow, and 2003 recipient of the North Carolina Award for Literature. Jaki Shelton Green teaches documentary poetry at Duke University for documentary studies and serves as the 2021 Frank B. Haynes Writer in Residence at UNC Chapel Hill. Additionally, she received the George School Outstanding Alumni Award in 2021. Her publications include Dead on Arrival, Mask, Dead on Arrival and New Poems, Conjure Blues, Singing a Tree into Dance, and Breath of Song, published by Blair Publishers. Continuing in the publications, Feeding the Light and I Want to Undie You, both published by Jakar Press. And I Want to Undie You in the English and Italian bilingual edition, published by Lebeg Publishers. On Juneteenth, 2020, she released her first LP, The River Speaks of Thirst, produced by Soul City Sounds and Clearly Records. In 2021, she released I Want to Undie You on CD. Jaki Shelton Green is also the owner of Sister Write, providing writing retreats for women in Sedona, Arizona, Martha's Vineyard, Ocracoke, North Carolina, and Northern Morocco and Tullamore Island. Good people, help me welcome our state's 9th Poet Laureate, Jaki Shelton Green.
It is indeed a wonderful moment to be inside of these walls, this sacred space. If we're really, really quiet, we can hear the makers of the no ways who are here. If we're really quiet, we can understand why it's a place of generosity, a place of renewal, a place to unshackle, to release. It is a space to show up, and sometimes we show out. So I am very, very grateful to be in this space. All my life growing up in the African American community, I heard the phrase, making a way out of no way. I knew it was rooted in and understood by my community, which expressed our creativity, resilience, and optimism that existed and continues to thrive in our community for generations. This lens has guided me through the world as I have witnessed and continue to witness and understand the accomplishments of everyday, extraordinary, ordinary people. And I've been thinking a lot about this phrase through this message that I want to share that was written by Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes, author of Women Who Run with the Wolves, a book that has been a serious compass helping me to navigate all the paths of all the women who live inside of me. And these are her words. We do not become healers. We came as healers. We are. Some of us are still catching up to what we are. We do not become storytellers. We came as carriers of the stories we and our ancestors actually lived. We are. Some of us are still catching up to what we are. We do not become artists. We came as artists. We are. Some of us are still catching up to what we are. We do not become writers, dancers, musicians, helpers, peacemakers. We came as such. We are. Some of us are still catching up to what we are. We do not learn to love in this sense. We came as love. We are love. Some of us are still catching up to who we truly are. This narrative, in the context of way out of no way, highlights the many elders, ancestors, and folks today who made cornflakes and water taste real good. And that's the legacy I want to leave. To be the soul that knows how to take nothing and create something freaking amazing and magical from that nothingness. I know that inside of the liminal spaces of nothingness is where the magic lives and where the magic thrives. I know because I live there also inside of that nothingness. This is the foundation of a Southern rural Black girl who has the audacity to envision, execute, and to navigate racism, classism, sexism, and ageism inside the construct of the arts landscape of North Carolina. This is the foundation that I stand on tonight. I am that no way, and I can be full of audacity because I've been taught that I am that type of soul that does not bemoan the smallness in my hands, but listens to ancestral whispers that instruct me over and over again on how to flip anything that does not serve me, does not serve my people, and make it something I want, something we need, something necessary, something finished, something available. I am that alchemist. We are all alchemists. turning anything we touch into gold, a gold that we define on our own terms, a gold only we assign agency to, a sparkling, brilliant gold that we decide the currency of its worth. This becomes legacy because we are a different kind of trust fund babies, of generations of foremothers and forefathers who we remember and memorialize for taking the broken, for taking the bedraggled, the empty and the bare, and transforming it into something full, something sustaining, something that takes the no way of making a way out of no way and demands others to say, no way. No way can you be all that. No way did you do all that. No way. You so rich in your life. And some of us, Nina's sister, friend, some of us hear this all the time when folks are listening and witnessing us soar, watching our ascension. We know what that whispered, no way. We know what it means, who she thinks she is. We know that, no way. No way, girl, you didn't do that. We have flipped that paradigm. I, along with a host of artists of color inside the capitalist complex of the arts, are reforming, reassessing, restructuring, and reimagining through the rage, joy, and medicine of our words, the medicine of our colors, our dances, and our sculptures, our installations that do not bend, our music that tears our collective wounds wide open and places them in the sun like Mother Till did, so the world can see what they did to her baby Emmett, that son. This is that no way. This collective wound that we are cleaning out through our voices, voices that will not be silenced. We are the way inside of no way. We are singers, writers, dancers, painters, potters, fire blowers. We are the no way that our ancestors were dreaming. We are their wildest dreams. We, alive, strategic, and armed with creative genius. Many of us do know who we truly are. Many of us know why we are here. Many of us understand that if we live long enough, alchemy will be required of all of us. We are committed to using our lived experiences of struggle and find a way through, out, over, around, and under as social entrepreneurs, artists, change makers, healers, leading the way against surmounting odds. As a Black woman who is constantly required to explore, upload, reload, define, and explain myself out of this historical century-long struggle against racism and male chauvinism, I am reminded of 20th century African American women's unlauded support for women's rights, and civil liberties. They're lifting the heavy load of way out of no way, takes us beyond this continuing reach of history, this reach of history where we evolve as a fascinating movement and the illumination of no way. We are holding our racial and gender identities intact while feeling the inexorable pull of the agendas of others. We are making way out of no way, even in the centrality of the masculination of America's racial and capitalist consciousness. We are powerful declarations saying and being the way. We are providing that way. We are giving America so much to talk about, to worry about, because we have come to be the carriers of the ways out of no ways. And I just want to leave it there. We are the carriers. We are the containers. We have become the road. We are the road. Not the map, but the road itself. This year I was commissioned by the Arts Club of Chicago and the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra to write a poetic narrative entitled Black Being. This was a collaboration with the musicians Flutronics, who transformed that poem into a musical composition. And this evening I'd like to bring closure with this poem, a poem that I believe lifts a way out of no way to a higher place of remembrance. This is the first time that this poem has been shared with a North Carolina audience, and I am happy and grateful to share it with you. Black Being. Black Being. If they could have, they would have strangled us inside the bellies of our moms, our mamas. Angels were watching, angels were counting, angels were whispering, keep on coming. So we swam towards the light, because that's what Black women do. Like Angelo A. Neger, one of the first African slaves to set foot on Virginia's shore. She carried the DNA of survival in her eyes, sewn inside her palms. We are all her seeds, gathering inside untamed winds, tangled in between cornrows, afro puffs, box braids, Havana twist. Keep on coming. Catching babies tossed back into the Atlantic, seductress mermaids staring down sharks, following Middle Passage cargo, riding hailstorms inside lynching parties, riding shotgun with Nat Turner, steering the oars for Denmark Vesey, counting gold ribbons, gold coins, gold fingers with Madame Marie Laveau. Keep on coming, keep on coming. Feasting on cornbread, rice beans, cassava. Keep on coming. And the hearts of fresh pigeons. We are these ones who keep on coming. We are song, poem. We are color, dance, story of a life large enough to hold, large enough to carry such a large life. Keep on coming. Keep on coming. The water babies are singing. The water babies are singing, dancing us home in the backwoods, where Black mothers go to the woods to study war no more. We keep on coming, clenching Black misery between our teeth. Poems fly from beneath our skirts. Our lips wet love, self-worth, self-preservation. We keep on coming. We keep on coming. We keep on coming. Black mothers trying to unbleed the red of the bullet hole, trying to unbecome ancestral grief. We keep on coming. We keep on coming. We keep on coming. Black lace, Black nectar, Black womb of whispered prayers. We are the who art in heaven, holding up Black universe. We are the hum inside the wasp nest. We are the light streaming through cracked mornings. We remember all the stories they told about us, some hiding in corners, some covering themselves under hawk feathers, rusty coins. But we keep coming, keep coming, keep coming, from white lightning, moon pies, and stardust. We keep coming, we keep coming. From bloody Sundays, muddy roads, and tin roofs, we keep sprouting wings. We keep coming. From pine trees, kudzu, wisteria, weeping willows, sweet gumballs, we keep coming, we keep coming, we keep coming. From prickly roses, honeysuckle vines, potato patches, hand-me-down blues from Chi-Town wind, Baltimore brownstones, finger-sucking good Georgia peaches, Friday night salsa in Spanish Harlem, Crenshaw bump and grind. We keep coming. We keep coming. Great-grandmothers, grandmothers, mothers, daughters, great-granddaughters, granddaughters. We keep coming. Lifting, swaying, shifting a new way of being in the world, a new language for woman, blackness, black womanness. We keep coming. Rearranging the alphabet, reordering traffic signals, respelling our codes. We are coming. We are coming. We were here in 1619. We were here in 1719. We were here 1819. We were here 1919. We were here 2019. We were here 2020. We were here 2021. We are here now. We keep coming. No woe, no burden, no mule, no broken back, no muzzled scream, no hidden bloody skirts, no rape, no black eye, no bruised joy, no murder, no stolen daughter, no slaughtered baby, no welfare mama, no side chick, no beat-down wife, no lied-on sister, no neck-popping jealousy, no riff-raff hoodoo, no strange fruit. We black women, Liberia, Congo, Belize, Madagascar, Selma, Tulsa, Galveston, Durham, Virginia, Gulfport, Johannesburg, Charleston, Miami, Havana, Detroit, Cleveland, Ferguson, Dorchester, Montreal, Greensboro, Birmingham. Kiss the hems of our skirts, wash the soles of our feet, wipe the tears of our torn flesh, catch the blood of this sacrifice out of nowhere, out of no place, out of no way. Paint a rainbow above our scars. Count the hands. Count the hands. Count the hands. Count the hands, count the hearts, count the hands, count the hearts. So many hands, so many hearts, bringing so much light. So many hands, so many hearts, bringing so much light. Black lights, black lights, black lights, black lights, black lights, black lights, black lights. We black women keep coming. Thank you. Thank you. And now I would love to invite my dear sister, who, if you look up, you'll see the stars she's hung in NorthStar, to make this place our space, a place where we belong. Nnenna and I tonight are going to do a piece together from my album. Nnenna was gracious enough, Queen Nnenna Freelon was gracious enough and generous enough to do the song on my recently released album, for which I'm so grateful. So Nnenna and I are going to do The River Speaks of Thirst, which is the poem that the album is named from. Again, thank you for your generosity of spirit. The river speaks of thirst.
Oh, how I want to sit here and sing into into your night.
Lean deep inside the elbows of this river where blood is born. Sing a litany into this open book of your story, my story. This river shrugs its belly, births kindness for all things yet to be born.
Sing, sing, sing a litany into this open book of your story, my story. This river shrugs its belly, births kindness for things, for all things yet to be born.
Oh, how I want to sit here and feast from your wet palms. This river.
This river, this river, oh, how I want to sit here and feast from your wet palms.
This river, wounded heart, holding the locked secrets of ancestral crones, kneeling, feeding the doorways of all your drowned seasons.
The locked secrets of ancestral crones, kneeling, feeding, kneeling, feeding, feeding the doorways of all your drowned seasons.
Oh, how I want to be born inside this river.
I want to be born. How I want to be born inside this river.
As a lone wild burst of yellow, becoming more and more an eclipse of wind, becoming more and more an eclipse of freedom. We are all this flow. We are all this river where blood is born.
Becoming more and more and more and more, becoming more and more and more an eclipse of the wind, becoming more and more eclipse of freedom. We are all this flow. Yeah, we are all this flow. Oh, yeah. We are all this river where blood is born.
Oh, how I yearn to empty the veins of my life story into this nameless pregnant river. Like you, like me, it also struggles to remember its own birthing, its own flow. Wide, deep story that swallows forest, that births newness inside the whisper of this story, this hungry thunder.
Like you, like me, it also struggles to remember its own birthing, its own flow. Why, deep story that swallows forest, that births newness inside the whisper of this story, this hungry thunder.
Oh, how I yearn to bear such freedom. Oh, how I yearn to bear such freedom. Hold the stones, the bones, the skeletons of moon, sun, dust, inside mouth, womb, spirit, tomb. Conjure a dervish of primal, ancient becoming. We swallow more and more of this river where blood is born. We shapeshift into the sweet shadows of this river's dance, this river's prayer, howling when it runs backwards, remembering other names, other skins, other songs, its birth and song. Oh, how I yearned to bear such freedom.
Oh, how I yearn to bear such freedom. Oh, how I yearn to bear such freedom. Hold the stones and hold the bones of the skeletons of moon, sun, dust, inside the mouth, the womb, the spirit, the tomb. We swallow more, we swallow more, we swallow more of this river where blood is born. We shapeshift into the sweet shadows of this river's dance, this river's prayer, howling when it runs backwards, howling when it runs backwards, howling when it runs backwards, remembering names, other skins, other songs, it's birthed and sung. Jaki Shelton Green.
Nnenna Freelon.
We are going to take a few moments. We're going to sit down and let me grab your microphone. You know, when sisters do things together, it's twice as much fun. And we are going to take some questions, I imagine, in the virtual world. I don't know really how that works, but apparently. And there may be some questions here in our lovely invited audience as well. So just let me ask you, how are you feeling with all of this interesting time? It's an interesting time, isn't it?
Ooh. It's a whole barrel of an interesting time. And how am I feeling? Unhinged, unsettled. The metaphor I think of is an empty bucket full of a few rocks and they're making a lot of noise, But what I am learning in this space is that those few rocks matter also. And that the least, sometimes when people ask us, how are you doing? Like, oh, I'm good, I'm fine. And we're not good. And I think in this moment, this is a making a way out of no way. Because this COVID we're not in control. We have no time frame with it. We can't plan our lives around it. But we be. And I think that's where I am, is just striving to be inside of a place that I've not been before, and finding those liminal spaces that bear some fertile ground, and staying in those nothing places. You know, as a culture, we're afraid to think about nothingness. You know, we are programmed to think about everything always has to be full and busy, you know, like full materialism, everything has to be full. But inside of the lean and the thin that our ancestors held so elegantly for us, that's where we thrive. And that's where I think some of our best work is done, is inside of that thinness, that veil. That's not a thick veil. And it's smoky, and it's stinky, and it's dense. But like all birthing is nasty. You know, the birthing process ain't pretty. So inside of these thin veils, I think that we have to find ourselves more and more and learn how to be inside of them.
I'm feeling you with that. I'm just, every day is a new adventure in trying to carve out a space for meanness, for being alive in this moment, and remembering just a little bit of nothing that my grandmother made worlds from is an inspiration. But how in the world did she do it, is my question. How did she do it?
And they did it.
They did it.
Yeah, they did it. You know, I made popovers this weekend, which is nothing but, you know, flour and water.
And air.
And egg. And some oil, some butter. And I thought, you know, about how just those elements of water, you know, and I want to say salt. I didn't put salt, but you know, water, salt. Sometimes there was no sugar because we don't need sugar. But water, salt, flour, butter. You know, some of us existed off of what you do with those staples, and those were the staples. You know, like, as long as you had those in the house, you could make some stuff. You know, you could do some stuff, some things. So yeah, you know, but the quilting, the clothing. I mean, the stories of, you know, women making dresses out of flour sacks, you know, and they wore Monday through Saturday, and they turned them inside out, and they wore them on Sunday. Yeah, the thin.
So do we have questions, you all? Okay. If you want to hand them to me, I will read them out loud, and then we will. Okay, this is for our sister Jackie. How have you found your grounding during the pandemic? And have you found any new talent?
Does that mean new talent inside of me, or?
I can't.
Okay. That's interesting. I am grounded by family, by a sacred space, by home, and how I sanctify that space to be my space. I'm grounded by what I know and a willingness to not have to know everything and not have to understand everything. I spend a lot of time trying to figure stuff out, and I am so glad I'm at an age where I don't have to. I don't have to. I just don't have to know everything. And I don't have to worry about things. And grounding in being able to witness the beauty and the power, the strength, the audacity of young people who are making a way, who are doing the damn thing.
That's right.
And doing it the way the ancestors told them to do it. So those are things that keep me grounded, knowing that that I can go somewhere and sit in a corner. That y'all got this. Y'all better have it, because we don't get another chance. So those are some of the things that ground me: gardening, cooking, my work, and letting my work have its place and I not becoming the work. My being able to walk away. I am not always the poet laureate. I don't even like being the poet laureate all the time. I don't even want to be the poet laureate 24/7, and I don't. So understanding that my life, that my identity, is not attached to a whole lot of things, but just trying to be simplistic and compassionate, and living in a space of gratitude, a space of generosity, and a space of tenderness. Those are the things that ground me. What have I think what talents? I don't know about talents, but this pandemic has forced me to learn new skill sets. I'm far more technological than I was. But if anything, I don't look at that from a very Eurocentric space for an answer. But the newness is just understanding that there's a new portal that has opened, and I have a responsibility to question how I'm going to walk through that portal, and hopefully not dragging, things that have weighed me down before COVID. A lot of things weighed us all down, but I think we have all learned how to let go, shed a little bit, dismantle a little bit.
So I have another question for you. How do I let the poet out? I'm imagining the inner poet. How does one let the poet out?
Well, you have to declare that you are the poet. The poet's already out. I mean, the fact that your question, you are poeting. The question is the poem itself. How do I let the poet out? And I think, you can reframe that to how do I meet the poet in me? And what space have you created? Folk talk about the muse all the time. Well, see, I don't believe that, like you have to wait on the muse. You have to train her behind. You have to train the muse when to come. Because some of us be waiting. And sometimes she comes when, like, you ain't got time for her. Like, you're doing something else. Like, no, today not the poem day. So what are the spaces that we create for ourselves so our creativity can be born? It's kind of, an elder told me years ago before I met my husband. She said, when you clean up all your mess, she said, you know the messes I'm talking about? When you prepare the space, that person will come. But you don't have the space for them to come into. So, sometimes we're our worst critics, and we censor ourselves a lot. And it's just very, very simple. Invite the poet to come. Walk around the corner and meet yourself. Because the poet is already there if you're asking this question, and I really believe that. We're all poets. It's nothing magical about we're all creative makers. Some of us, our art lives at the bottom of a salad bowl. Mm-hmm. We make fabulous salads. We do food porn. Danielle out there with her sourdough bread, is an art form. So sometimes, it's not always about scribing. Sometimes we just have to let the creative process be fired up, get a flame, and then you write. So I hope I did that question justice for the person answering it.
Are there any questions in this room right here that anyone would like to ask? We have a very small, intrepid, fabulous audience. And so, yes, speak your question.
Dear Miss Nnenna, your
A beautiful brother is tossing me a compliment while he is asking a question. This is my favorite kind of question. He asked, Nnenna, your voice is so, I can't even use the adjectives, but I'll try. Wonderful, fabulous, deep, and improvisational. How do you do it? I will tell you, I am inspired by this woman here to my left. She wrote the song. The song is embedded in the words. And I just thought it not robbery to let it come through my voice for a minute. That's all. Some words don't lend themselves to being sung. They resist it. In your mouth, you go to try to go there, and they just won't tumble out as music. This sister thought enough of me to invite me into a space where music and words could dance. I had not done this before, and I told you that, didn't I? I had not done it before, but something in my spirit said, go on, go on. And the rest, my dear brother, is history. And I don't claim to be the originator of the sound. I try as much as possible to be open, and this was not rehearsed. It will never, it's unrepeatable because I can't remember what it was. And if you happen to be here in the moment, that's your blessing. You know what I'm saying? These moments, and there's so many moments like this in our everyday lives that go right past us. And we don't even realize it. We just witnessed something unrepeatable. But we didn't stop to take it in. A sunset, a baby's cry, that fabulous, cornbread, whatever. It's never coming again in that way. And so one thing COVID has taught me is to appreciate those small things that a hawk feather fell down on the ground and I saw it. I would never have had time to pay attention to a hawk feather and to take it in the house and go to the hawk feather registry on Google. There's a whole place you just take the feather and you say, does it have spots, how long it is? I found out it was a Cooper's hawk. Who's got time for that when you run around doing a million things? So I'm grateful for those small moments that allow me to realize what a magical place we are inhabiting, but for the most part, we miss it. It goes right by us.
Yeah, so just a little kind of talking about that poem. Nnenna showed up on a Sunday morning, and y'all know Nnenna. So when I call Nnenna, she's like, you got Sunday. That's all I got to give to you because I'm going out of town Sunday. Like, can you do it on Sunday? Because if you can't do it on Sunday, we can't do it. And I was like, we can do it on Sunday. And Nnenna showed up. She's like, okay, read.
Not that mean, though.
And assertive. But what I'm saying is, no, we never rehearsed. We didn't rehearse that morning. I read, Nnenna sang. I read, Nnenna sang. Nnenna sang. But, when I'm writing, words have to feel good. And I'm glad you said what you said. There are words that I like inside of my mouth. They taste good. I like the texture of them rolling around inside of my mouth. So it becomes it's very visceral. It's kind of like, those of us who like cashmere, we like how it feels on our bare skin. We like silk and how it feels. It's a texture thing. So it is with, having a palate for words and knowing how to make magic when they're inside of your mouth. What happens when you take them in. So for me, I remember that Sunday morning just in tears, just listening to Nnenna, who had never heard those words before, how her whole being invited them inside. And what came out was what you just heard. And I think, when you hear their album, it's with all of its technology, it's a fabulous piece, and I'm honored by it.
Yeah, it was a very wonderful experience. Sometimes you have to go to work, and you go to work, and it feels like work, but you're a professional, right? So you do what is required of the moment. Other times, it is such a joy, and you feel yourself the recipient of something that you can't really claim you did it. You kind of have to say you were in the room, and it was poured through you.
Right. Yeah.
Have another question?
See, this is what happens during COVID. People have nothing else to do but write a lot of questions.
This is somebody from the chat. What would your younger self say to you now? What would she say to other sisters?
So I meant what I just said in a really sweet way on folk out in cyber world. I love your questions. I honor them. No way, in a really loving way, or, Because sometimes I can sit back and go, Because we know where we've been. The selves know where we've been. The selves know where we come from. But what I would say is, thank goodness that you listened. Thank goodness that you showed up. Thank goodness that you allowed yourself to be afraid when you had sense enough to be afraid of things. Thank goodness that you didn't allow fear to hold you hostage. Thank goodness you could see yourself. Thank goodness you know who you are. And I know that there's something very, very magical that happens when women gather. And not, things happen when men gather with us too. But there's something very, very magical when women gather. And that's GATH, capital H, capital E, capital R. When we find ourselves inside of each other's stories, when we find ourselves over and over again in the secrets, the joy, the things that we share. So I'm, hoping that all little girls and little boys have this opportunity to know what communityhood looks like, to know what friendship, what sisterhood, what brotherhood looks like. A lot of us grew up probably with that being told, don't trust women. Don't trust other women. And we have got to work through that. And we can talk, all of us, we all talk a mean game about sisterhood. And then I see some stuff and what kind of sisterhood is that? So we have to check ourselves. We really have to check ourselves because we're all we have. We are our sister's keepers. We all we got. We are all we have. And, and sisterhood does not always mean black folk. It means the sister that is there. I don't care what hue she is, or what religion, right? Or what gender preference. It's when you understand how to show up in sisterhood. And I think that transcends any physical embodiment.
I love that. I love that. We have time for one more question. Rainier Maria Rilke wrote a series of letters to a young poet. What would you write in a letter to a young poet today?
Funny you ask, because last year I think I wrote, maybe about 80 some letters to young writers from across the world, that the Academy of American Poets invited Poet Laureates to respond to these young people who wrote me long letters. Long letters. Everything from, I like your glasses, To I'm a little black girl in Maryland, you remind me of my grandma. I love your stories. So what am I saying to them? I'm telling them to remember to see themselves and to ask people who love them, what do they see? Because we have to tell our children what we see. Sometimes they don't see themselves. They can't see themselves. Sometimes this culture, the society, has blocked the mirror, the real mirror. So see yourself. See all of yourself. All of yourself. And love the ugly. Love the things that you say are ugly. You know, because when we all were those children who didn't like our nose, or my ears were too big, or my hair was too nappy, or my hair was too short, right? Or I was too short. But what would I tell them? To see themselves and to first love themselves. And really to draw outside of the lines, to not stay inside of the lines. You know, learn everything you have to learn and then learn how to break the rules. But you've got to learn what it is first. Like, why don't you use capital letters? Why don't you use punctuation marks? Do you not have an MFA? No, I don't have an MFA, but I do know how to write. Therefore, I can break the rules. So that's what I would tell them. Don't be afraid to break the rules. That does not mean skip school tomorrow. But break those rules. And find your own voice. That's what I tell young writers. Don't try and sound like, I remember my 20s, people were saying to me, well, you don't sound like Maya Angelou. You don't sound like Nikki Giovanni. You don't sound like Sonia Sanchez. And I was like, well, Maya don't sound like me. And she shouldn't. I'm supposed to sound like me. You know, so I think it's very, very important that we remind people that your voice matters, your stories. And that's what I would say to them, to celebrate their stories. Especially rural Southern children who are underexposed to so much, to a lot of culture, to a lot of literary arts, to the arts period. So I would say, you know, go out into the world. It's a big world. Some of us are, I'm afraid to say, oppressed by, you know, limited living. So for our children, live large and live wide. And don't be afraid to stand up in your truth.
I love it. That's words to live by, words to savor. I want to thank everyone in the virtual world, sacred space, invite you again to become a sustainer of North Star Church of the Arts. And thank you for being a part of our community on this night. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Take that and replace it with this. This is for you, Jackie.
Oh my gosh.
The person who makes the color red beautiful, powerful, soft. You are our patron saint.
Thank you.
She is our patron saint. She is. I don't want to make you hold this on my.
And you don't have to hold it. We have a box for you to travel with it as well. So I just want you to know that I do love you. Thank you. This was beautiful. It's everything I needed to hear.
We got through it.
Just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I can get you some.